Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we're going to start a new series today. So, this series is by author Gina Robinson. It's called the Reckless series, and we're going to dive into book one, which is called Reckless Longing. We start the book off meeting Ellie. She is at Washington State. This is her, I'm assuming, freshman year. It's the first week of her college experience, and she has a roommate named Bree. Now, Bree is dragging her to this party. She's like, okay, fine. Eventually, she gives in. She says she'll go. We only get a little backdrop. Kind of important, though. We find out that she doesn't have a really good relationship with her mother. She has the type of parent that likes to compete. So their relationship isn't the greatest. She states that the last argument, her mother said something that she just can't forgive. We don't know what that is, but this should be so fun to find out what. We also find out that she's on a mission to find out some information about her family. There are secrets, but again, we don't know who she's looking for. So again, this should be very interesting. So she goes to this event, and Bree is what we like to call boy crazy. She met this guy named Dan at a party or I guess orientation week or something. And over the summer, she just kind of stayed in contact with him. And I mean, it doesn't appear like the guy is really into her because it seems like the Bree girl is always trying to push around him. And so that's what she's done. And this time, she wants Bree to come, not Bree, she wants Ellie to come along because Dan's friend Jake is going to be there. Ellie already knows that she doesn't want to deal with this crap. Okay? She really doesn't want to go, but she knows, at this point, Bree is considered her best friend because she's a roommate. So it's like, okay, I don't want to do anything to piss her off, so I'll just go ahead and I'll go. Well, when they get up to the Dan and the Jake guy, the Dan guy kind of gives her a look of like this up and down look, which kind of signifies some interest in her. But I guess the Bree girl didn't catch it, but I would be kind of weird. Like, what you checking out my girl, like my homegirl for? But anyway, I digress. So they're going to go get something to eat. There's free food. And so they're going to go get some sandwiches. She barely eats. We find out that Ellie went through a breakup recently with a guy named Austin right before she left her hometown. And she really hasn't had an appetite since. She's dropped about 10 pounds, and it wasn't like she was this big girl anyway. So one of the events that they're doing is they're doing like half off of piercings. We find out that her mother had wanted her to get this, but because her mother wanted her to get it is why she didn't want to do it. But now she wants to do it for herself. So Bree tries to talk her out of it. She's like, I'll take you another time. And we know it's because she wants to be with Dan. And with piercings, it kind of appears like there's going to be a lot of girls there. So I'm quite trying to have him go be around a lot of girls when she's trying to get his attention already. She's bending over backwards to get it. And so she tells Ellie, like, I'll take you another time. But I'm kind of with Ellie on this one. Baby, it's half off. She doesn't want to be around the Jake guy anyway. Girl, go get your piercing like you would like to do. And so that's what she does. She says, I'm going to go ahead and go and get my belly button pierced, and I'll just meet up with you guys later. And she darts off. So she goes and gets in line, and she's starting to chicken out a little bit. And there is this super hot guy, and he's like, where's your support system? Normally, girls have a girl come with them for their support system. And she says, well, she's too busy chasing a guy, so that's not going to happen. So this gorgeous guy has a black eye. And it's crazy because she's like, even with the black eye, he's still gorgeous. So he says, I'll be your support system. So he gets in line with her. He's got an ice pack that he's been holding over his eye. We find out his name is Logan. And he stays with her. They have good little banter back and forth. And normally I would think you would sit down when you get your belly button pierced, but because there's so many people, honey, you're standing up, you're lifting your shirt up, and they're getting it done. So the guy disinfects the area, does his thing, and boom, it's done. She was happy she did it. Some guys call out to Logan and they're like, Walker, so that must be his last name. And so she had asked Logan, like, well, what happened to your eye? And he said he got hit in the eye with the pool ball. And what is that what they call? From the pool table when you're playing pool, the pool balls? That's what he got hit with. So she thought he was probably lying, but based on these guys when they come up, clearly that's what happened. So now she knows his name, Logan Walker. So she decides when he introduced her, he's like, this is L, and she decides she wants to get away now. Like, they've had a really perfect moment together. It's been nice and sweet, and she doesn't want it to go beyond this because something's going to get tainted. So she winds up darting off, and he's like, I don't even know your last name. And she just kept on walking. Because for her, this is the the best thing to do. Ellie goes back to her dorm room, and she shot a text to Bree letting her know she was tired. She's back in the room. And she's sitting there thinking about Logan and how honestly perfect that memory was. And she wants to keep it that way. So Bree comes home, and she scares Bree because she's sitting in the dark. And Bree was kind of mad at her for leaving because she was like, Dan and the Jake guy, they were playing pool, and they basically ignored her, and she got bored, and that's when she finally left. So then it's the next day. They're going to the convocation, which is just a big word for meeting. And we find out she's at this university. There's a couple things. So she's not a freshman. I had that wrong. She took summer classes and some college courses as well. So she's actually a junior. And she was able to score this really good work study with the IT department. And the reason she came here is because her birth father works here. He is apparently the director of the department of IT. And so all we know is that she found something when she was back home that prompted her to find him. And she's trying to figure out how to approach it, okay? Because she doesn't just want to walk up to the person and go, hi, I'm your long lost daughter. So she sees him. She knows his name. So she's been able to look him up. His name is Jason Front. And so she knows what he looks like. And she, of course, is on the lookout for him. But that's wild. So we don't know if he knew she existed and just didn't care, or if he never knew she existed. We genuinely don't know which it is, which this is kind of wild. So anyway, they go into the convocation meeting with some other girls from their dorm room, and they're all friends at this point because these are the people she knows. And so they all come. I think one's name is Taylor. What's the other one's name? It'll probably come to me later. So they wind up going to sit with Dan and Jake at Bree's freaking request. Ellie sits next to Jake, and he's like real snarky because he's all like, you know, you dumped me to go get a belly piercing. I'm like, ooh, like she doesn't even know you. There's no allegiance to you. So he's clearly annoying, and Bree ain't shit because she knows her girl is not interested in this guy. And but it seems like the only way she can be near Dan is if she keeps subjecting her friends to this fucking dude, which is crazy. But anyway, I digress. They get through it, and then they go out and they have these different booths set up, and the IT department is giving out these like flash drives that have like a list of like all of the people in the departments, and she wants to score one of those flash drives, but the person that's giving it out is Jason Front. And so she's staring at him because it's her first time seeing her father physically. And her friends are looking at her like, who are you? Do you have zaddy issues, you know? And she's like, no, that's going to be her boss. And she's just trying to feel him out, see what his temperature is, see if he's a hard ass or laid back. She lied pretty good because they bought it. Um, we find out lying is something she learned from her mother. Her mother's really good at it, and she's good at baiting people. So she taught her that you use a little truth, you use some truth, and that way it appears as if everything you're saying is the whole truth, which is how most liars operate. And I'm like, this should be interesting. So the next couple of days, she failed horribly at not thinking about Logan. She has thought about him nonstop. She has started drawing parallels between him and her ex-boyfriend Austin, you know, saying they even kind of look similar, like all type of stuff. She has Facebook stalked him. She even went to the university website, there's a section called misconnections, and so she scanned through it, and sure enough, Logan was describing their encounter, basically saying, you know, to the girl, the beautiful girl I met, I want to hold your hand again, because he was the one holding her hand while she was getting her belly button done. And different people are like tagging him, saying something about getting his eye hit, you know. So again, truth is he got his eye, he got hit in the eye with a pool ball. And it was really sweet what he said. And so she took a screenshot of it just to keep it for herself. She didn't respond. She looked up her ex-boyfriend Austin as well on Facebook, even though she'd unfriended him as soon as they broke up. He looks happy and well. And then Bree comes in, and Bree, of course, is like, what are you up to? And she talks about the misconnection section that she was looking at, how she's a sucker for love stories and all that type of stuff. And then she's like, you know what? I'm hungry. Let's go get something to eat. And Bree's like, you're never hungry. And she's like, I know. So that means she's got a little happy back if she wants to get some type of food down her, you know, in her system. You know what I mean? So next day, she goes to the pool. It's super hot. She wasn't supposed to get in with the chlorine and stuff like that. She cleaned her stomach afterwards, but it was just too hot. There's no AC in their dorm room. So I felt bad. Poor thing. Okay. She checked misconnections again, and there's someone talking about a guy with a black eye and how they saw them and how they have double D's and they want to get to know him and all this type of shit. And she feels this pang of jealousy. Freaks her out. It's the first day of class. She's nervous because this is also the day that she's going to meet her father. So it doesn't seem like he knows about her. She's not 100%. Um, she's hoping this is her dad. Okay. She found out a different kind of way. It wasn't a direct conversation with her mother that she found out. So she must have found some type of evidence from her mom, maybe something physical, stating that this was her father. So we'll see. We find out that she's a brunette like her mom. No, her mom's a blonde. She's a brunette. And she glad she doesn't look exactly like her mom, because then he wouldn't know who she was, and she doesn't know what type of a relationship they had, if it was a good, if it was bad, like whatever, she doesn't know. So she's happy this way. It gives her a little bit more time to figure out how she wants to approach this, which I think is cool. There's a whole lot going on through her head. She goes to her first class. It's chemistry. Her professor, Dr. Rogers, is one of those professors that just want to trip. They just want to trip you up. So they give you all this information, but it's not about you learning. It's about how they can trick you. And she, of course, is like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be a mess, because she's on scholarship, an academic scholarship, and she can't afford to be failing any classes. So after class, this nerdy dude comes up to her. His name is Dex. And he basically is like, he's trying to get a study group together. And he lets her know if she can make cookies, then he'll help her. And she's like, okay, she's down. She makes a pretty good, great cookie. So she'll do it. She doesn't know if the guy is hitting on her. They do exchange numbers, or if it's a matter of he's just trying to get a study group together to help with this class. We'll see. Let's see. Might be legit, might not. We'll see. So he already has some friends that are in the class as well that are going to be in this study group. And as before he ran off, he asked if she, who she was going to have for a lab partner, because they have a lab class as well. And he's like, we'll be lab partners as well. And that made her smile, because it's like, okay, well then, doesn't seem like he's a threat. He seems like a cool dude. And then that way, she kind of knows someone that she's going to go into this new class with. So that, again, I just hope it all works out and he's not a creep. That's my only, my only hope. She is now headed to her intern work study thing, and she, of course, is very nervous. And we find out her mother has been married 3 times, all failed marriages. The mom is kind of like, how do I say it? Since her mom ain't shit, she's kind of, again, wondering if there's good in Jason. You know what I mean? Like, is he the same way as her? Is he a completely different person? Like, she's got, like, again, 1,000 thoughts going through her head. So she goes to the IT department. She meets Karen. Karen handles the phones. It's a crazy day. She takes her in to meet Jason. She feels an instant connection with him. And it was that feeling of, this is blood. This is my relative. Terrified her. He says, of course, nice to meet you, X, Y, and Z. And she sees a digital picture frame on his desk, but it's turned off. And she's kind of wondering, like, I wonder what's that about. He is married. She doesn't know if he has children. And then she hears Logan, his name being yelled out. And it's Jason going, what happened to your eye? And she's like, oh my gosh. And so, of course, Logan is happy to see her. And he's like, how's your belly button? Telling her, you should show Jason, like all this kind of stuff. So Jason tells Ellie, go out there with Karen. You're going to be answering phones. Logan goes out there with her, and they do their little flirty banter. He tells her what she needs to do. He's got to go to another department where the internet is down. And so he says afterwards, can we meet up? Can we have burgers at 5? And she was like, in her head, she should say no, but she was like, no, fuck it. She says yes. So he leaves, and when he leaves, the Karen woman says, be careful with that one. He's good looking, he's charming, but he's got problems and he loves the ladies. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So in her head, she's like, she's just going to go have dinner with him. She's got to have dinner anyway. So they're going to meet up at that sub place, or they're going to go to that sub place. And so 3 hours fly by because it was super busy. 5 o'clock rolls around, he's not back. She keeps working until 5:30, trying to make it appear as if she's just so lost in the work. And then Karen says you should probably go ahead and get on home and get started on your homework and stuff. So she leaves, and in her head she's thinking, I shouldn't have agreed to go eat with him. Look at what he did. Didn't even reach out. Well, first of all, he doesn't have your phone number. Okay. Um so but that is, I get it, that's rude for him not to say anything. And then she just, goes, what, he's just a distraction. That is not what I need right now. And then as soon as she thinks that to herself, guess who pops up? Logan. He comes running up. He was like, he had such a crazy day. He's like, I'm glad I caught you because I had no way of reaching you. Seems genuine. We don't know if there was really an issue, if he was tied up with somebody else. We don't know. Well, they go to the sub place. They get a burger. He doesn't even attempt to pay for her, which she likes. She's on a tight budget because her mom basically, I think her mom's got a little money, probably for marriage, but she's withholding funds from her because of her choice to come to this university and how she cut off contact with her mom. So he asked her, "Are you a freshman?" And she said, "No, I'm a junior." She's like, "I transferred in." And he says, "Oh, so he's a senior and he's studying, he's studying engineering and something. She's studying management, something services with a minor in biochem." And she's trying to pull a little information about Jason, but she says it's because she wants to be on his good side, right? He's the boss. She's trying to be on his good side. But it, it still makes Logan, he's looking at her kind of like, okay, you got a crush on him or something? Like, that's where his mind goes. And she's like, no, nothing like that. So they start talking about her classes. And he also told, as far as Jason, he said Jason's real laid back, real cool. Said about, him and his wife and the new, born, they have a baby girl. And that's when she starts thinking in her head, oh my God, I can't compete with a baby. You know what I mean? It's like, but bitch, you're not supposed to. So they've got a 4-month-old. And she, of course, wants to know more about the child. And then they switch the conversation. And she was thinking, okay, I need to get out of here. Because it's a lot of information about her father or potential father that she just heard. And she's now ready to go. And when she brought up about the chemistry class with Dr. Rogers, he got really eerie and told her to be careful. He says she's a vindictive bitch. And I'm like, ooh, what made him say that? So again, this should be interesting as well. Logan walked her to her dorm, but she didn't let him inside. And he, of course, asked her, like, why didn't you give me your last name the first night that we met? And she says, oh, I always had a thing for Cinderella. So he's like, oh, so you want a prince to save you? She said, I don't really believe in that. So then he invited her to a party, this Colin guy, which she had heard about because while they were at the sub place, this girl had walked up asking him if he was coming to this party. And even though she felt this little pang of jealousy, it's like she already knows he's a playboy. You know what I mean? So he was like, bring your friends, Colin will be happy with that, you know? So she's like, okay, I'll think about it. So then the next day, she goes to her lab. She meets up with Dex, and he's gonna, of course, he's her lab partner. And Dex is like, you gotta like step your game up. He's like, you are a hot girl, but you're trying to play it down. He's like, but Byron, who's the teacher's assistant, TA, he's giving looks, but we need you to play on that because we've got to get 100 in this lab if we're gonna have a prayer to pass this Dr. Rogers chem class, you know? So he also gives her a little tea about Dr. Rogers. He says she's apparently on thin ice because she has like vendettas against students. It's crazy. And apparently this past semester she gave a lot of points to people because it was like 75% of her students were going to fail. So she had to put extra points in to have people pass because otherwise people were going to freak out. So she of course is like, you know, I'm on scholarship. I can't afford for her to like screw me over like that. She really can't. So he's convinced her she's going to sex it up a little bit so she can get on the good side of Byron and use him however needs be. Because we got to be honest, if over 75% of your fucking class is going to fail, I don't think it's the students. It's got to be you. It's got to be. So anyway, when she leaves from the lab, she gets a text message from Austin, her ex, but she doesn't read it. She just deletes it. She gets a text from her mom asking how did her first day go, and she's like, first of all, the first day was yesterday. But she just sent her a text that said fine. She knows her mom is hurting, but she's pissed off because Doug, who was her mom's last husband, he wasn't the greatest, but he was a decent guy. And it sounds like the mom cheated on him. And apparently something else she did too. So that should be funny when we find out that story. Um, she's going to the study hall to meet up with the study group. She checked her phone to see if there's any text messages from Logan because they did exchange numbers when they had their burgers. And it made her feel sad that there's nothing from him. So she goes, and Dex is funny. Dex is a trip, and he is a whole plot planner person. So he apparently has gotten a copy of last semester's quiz, pulled it out in front of everyone to see who he could trust. I don't know if it's real or not, but he just went over the answers. He's trying to see, you know, how she would trick them. So then after that, she comes back home, and a few days later, Bree was like, we're going to go cliff diving and hang out. And at first she's like, no, I'm good. No, no thanks. And she's like, come on, come on. There's nothing to do. Let's go. Dan and Jake are going to be there. And I'm like, Jake being there is not an appeal to her. She does not like Jake. But sure enough, she winds up going because the other girls are going to go. So she's like, okay, fine, I'll go. She spots Logan, and Logan's with this brunette chick. And this is the same chick that had came up to him at the sub place. So she hadn't really told her friends that she went and had that burger with him, but they caught her eyesight. They caught her looking at him. And when she tried to turn away, they saw it, and they were like, oh my God, he's hot. Why have you not talked to us about him? So she just explained it was nothing like that. He's way out of her league, all this type of stuff. And we find out when she was with Austin, she had that same feeling. She felt like she was lesser than. And so when he cheated on her, it was proof that she wasn't top tier in her head. And so for her, she just doesn't have energy to kind of go through that type of bullshit again. So at least we now know he cheated on her. That's why they broke up. So anyway, they're jumping off the cliffs. The brunette girl goes. Some other people go. Logan turns and does this whole backflip shit. But he's taking his time coming back up. And clearly he's waiting for her to jump. So eventually she does jump. It's very exhilarating. Okay. The experience is really great to her. But then something happens and she feels like she's being pulled down. And her first thoughts are she's never going to see Logan again and she's never going to officially meet her dad and tell him the truth. So this is what happened. Ellie's legs cramped up and so she's sinking and she can't swim her way out of this. So all of a sudden Logan comes and tries to pull her up, but she's fighting him at first and he had to get her to stop so that way he could bring her up. She's blue. She's cold. It's a whole thing. He winds up saying he's going to take her to the student health. Kel, the girl that he was with, he's like, can you catch a ride with Colin? He's got room, and he took off with Elle. They said she was lucky that he got her when he did, because otherwise she would have died. They kept her there for 6 hours for observation in case something else popped up. He stayed with her the whole 6 hours. Her friends did come by and visit, but he stayed with her the whole time. Then he brought her back to the dorm. It looked like they were about to kiss. That was the feeling that was going between the two of them. And he didn't do it. He left her. So she doesn't know what's it about. Like, okay, is he playing games? Or, he says he has a lot going on. So who knows? But she goes inside. The girls are like, you've been holding out on us. He's so hot. I'm like, this girl just about drowned, and y'all still talking about the hot dude. I can't. I just can't. Next day, she goes and takes her chemistry quiz. Doesn't feel like she did too well because, again, the quizzes, it's not the stuff that they went over. And clearly, the test that he pulled from last year didn't help at all. Dex is recording everything in the class. He's trying to get proof that this woman is doing bullshit. Okay? So then she goes to her work study. Jason is talking to Karen and he's like, oh great, you're here. Um Need to have a little meeting in my office to kind of go over things with you because the first day was kind of crazy. And so he wanted to be able to, have a little conversation with her. So they talk X, Y, and Z. She looked at the digital photo frame again and she told him, she's like, I'm sorry, but you're an IT person. How do you have a digital photo frame and it's not on? And he said that he broke it right before the semester started and he just hadn't gotten around to fixing it. She of course is wondering, is it other issues? Like, did he break it because there's issues in the marriage? Now her mind's wondering. Now, the reason she was curious is because so this is how she found out who Jason was, okay? She read her mom's diary. Her mom had tried to get someone else for child support. But of course, you try child support, they're going to want a paternity test. And the test came back negative. So we're going to assume the person she was trying to get had some money. Well, in the diary she wrote that the only other person she had been with was Jason Front. So that's got to be Ellie's father. So she keeps a DNA kit on her, our girl Ellie. She says it's kind of a security blanket. But I'm like, girl, whatever you need to do at this point. So after Jason said he was going to take everyone out for lunch and beers, um, he had made a comment to her that she looked familiar. He's like, "Do I like again?" He's like, "You sure we haven't met before?" And she's like, "Nope, we have not." So he's going to, of course, his wife's name is Lissa, and his child's name is Mia. So he's going. She's kind of thinking like, "Whoa," because her mom's name is Melissa. And so he shows her pictures of the baby, and the baby looks exactly like her baby pictures. So even more so, she's like, yeah, this is her father. And they go out for the pizza. She tells them how Logan saved her life. He tried not to make a big deal of it. And she's like, well, it's a pretty big deal to me because you saved my life, you know? So then when they left, Logan took her back to her dorm and he said, are you into Jason? And she's like, what? He's like, it just seems like you were like really in like really concentrating on like listening to everything you said. You were like really into him. And she said, no, it's just that my stepdad had a kid as well that's the same age. And I just kind of wondered what it would be like to have a sibling or a sister. So when he was talking about his kid, it just kind of made me think about that. And he seemed satisfied with the excuse. So then he tells her, don't forget Colin's party's tomorrow. And she agrees to come and to bring her friends. Bree finally scored a date with Dan, so she's not going to be coming to this Colin party. Um, they get to their place. They have a really nice apartment. They clearly live off campus. Colin finds her, and he, of course, is saying that he was a part of the rescue mission. So he introduces her to everyone. Her other two friends break off. They find some dudes they dance with. And then Logan appears. And Logan's kind of being like a bump on the wall. And he says, let's go outside. So they go outside. He brings some binoculars. He's talking to her about the stars and stuff. And they wind up having this super hot kiss. Then he does this whole, I can't. We can't do this. This isn't a good time for me. And she's like, okay. She's like, we can remain friends. And he was like, absolutely, But he tells her he's got a lot going on right now. And she's just like, that's fine because she's got a lot going on herself. I don't like the flip floppy back and forth shit. That bothers me. Because it's kind of like, okay, you got a lot of stuff going on. You knew that before you dragged me out, before you invited me to this fucking party. You knew that. You knew that before you dragged me outside to look at some fucking stars, which is a beautiful thing. Don't get it twisted. Very cute, beautiful, romantic. But why are you doing things when you know you got a lot going on? Just saying. Next day, she talks with her girls, and they, of course, are like, he doesn't make sense. He took you to go look at the stars, but then he's like, "Oh, I don't want a relationship." They're like, "I don't think he's being weird." They're like, she says, "I'd rather keep him as a long-term friend than just a fling that doesn't work out." But they're just kind of like, "Nah, this is just too flip-floppy." So the next day, she gets her test results from the quiz, and well, her quiz results. That's what I should have said. And no one did good, but she did about the best. I think her and Dex did probably the best. And the woman, Dr. Rogers, she didn't quiz on any of the notes, none of the stuff she'd given them. And so she decides, remember, she decided she's going to go ahead and she's going to get in on this flirting with the Brian dude, the TA. And so she flirts a little. Dex is kind of pissed off because he got a 6, which is the highest of anyone in the class, but it's still a shit score, you know? Um, she did wear short shorts, Ellie did, and she felt bad for kind of using this guy. You know what I mean? Like, faking this, giving him this attention. But at the end of the day, she got to get her grade. You know what I mean? She's on scholarship, so it is what it is. Byron tells her that this is a hard, it's a hard class, but he tells her that if she comes to him, he'll go over the quiz with her. Now, he can't do it for everyone. He's like, if this gets out, I'll have to stop. Why do you have to stop helping people? That doesn't make sense. If people are going to the teacher's assistant for help because the professor can't do it, right? Why are they being denied the service? That's insane in itself. That's pure crap. So she tells him, your secret's safe with me. I'm not going to tell anyone, but of course we know she's going to go and tell the study group. So he goes over the quiz with her, and she asks him, what kind of cookies do you like? And so after she leaves from Byron, she goes to her work study. Jason was talking about how the baby was teething, and of course, in her mind, she's thinking about, this is her baby sister. She does feel some jealousy because she's not close with him. She never got that opportunity with him. And she's trying to figure out a way to get close to him, find out more about him without revealing who she is. So then she gets a text message from Logan wanting to meet up to have burgers at the sub place, and so she agrees. And when they go, she starts talking about her classes. And when she gets to chemistry and starts talking about it, he gets quiet again. He stops eating. She asked him for help. She's like, if you could give me some type of pointers, on how her mind works. And he's like, no, I can't help you. And she's like, okay, that's weird. And then she said, that's fine. I have Dex and the guys in the study group and Byron the TA. I'll just have to bake him some cookies and get him on my good side. And he goes, don't try and get close with him for a grade. Don't do that, Elle. And she was like, whatever. He's being weird. He's lashing out. And she was just like, she got up and she's like, you're a jerk. And so she was leaving out and he comes after her and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I shouldn't have been like that. And he's like, you can bake the cookies in my apartment because your dorm, the stove barely works. The oven's what did I say? The oven barely works. And people will probably steal your cookies. Just come and make them at my place, okay? And so she agrees. So she goes back to Logan's place and she makes the cookies. They're studying. She's texting with Dex. And he's like, what are you, having some kind of affair? And she's like, no, I'm texting with Dex, blah, blah, blah. So she's got to go use the bathroom. He tells her to go to his room because it's cleaner. She goes, and when she comes out, of course, she starts looking around. He comes in and she's like, you're really tidy. And he says, that's all you notice? So she looks around and she sees a lot of baseball stuff. And then we get a little backdrop. So he's got a younger brother named Caleb who plays in the major leagues. And he himself used to play baseball. And his brother, who's 11 months, I want to say, younger than him, they both were playing the sport. And at first, he was his father's pride and joy. And then once his younger brother picked it up, he's a natural. He, all of a sudden, that was the golden child. So he's still pretty good. Jason was, because he got a scholarship to come to this school. His brother, however, got drafted right out of college into the MLB. I'm sorry, I'm lying. Out of high school to the MLB. So he was doing pretty good, and then his arm, he had this career-ending injury, and his dad blamed him for getting the injury, and so she feels sorry for him because she sees clearly the type of relationship. I think she thinks about herself too, because she's got a mom that, you know, tries to compete with her. And then he has a father who prefers one child over the other. And I think that plays with her too because of what's going on with Jason. He doesn't know she's his kid, but it's like, okay, is he going to say, well, I can't be your father because I'm Mia's father? You know what I mean? She doesn't know. So that's playing in her head as well. So he then describes how he was on a really bad track, and that's when he met Jason. And Jason really kind of nurtured his love of computers and really helped him get himself back on track and got him the job in the IT department. And he kind of used Jason as like his best friend. So this, of course, a lot of emotional is running through her. She winds up kissing his scar, and then they start kissing. And right when they're about to unbuckle, when he unbuckles or takes off her clasp, her bra clasp, she's like, no, 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 we can't do this. We said we're just gonna be friends. You know, I don't do the friends with benefits type of thing. Um, that's not me. And he tells her like he can't help it. It's just whenever he's around her, he just wants her. And then she smells smoke. The cookies have burnt, and she kind of feels like this is a metaphor for her and Logan. So she only had that one bad batch, and the rest turned out good. So she left him like 12 cookies. They drove back. I could have just said a dozen, but anyway, I digress. So they drove back to her place in silence. The next day, he texted her. She ignored the text. She decided it's best if they don't talk anymore. But she needed to stop being a coward and she needed to face him and tell him. So she'd been crying. So when she went in to see Byron, she broke down. He, of course, is thinking it's about the class. It's not, it's something else. But he's just like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you with the course. I promise. So then she texts Logan, we need to talk. He meets up with her and she told him, I think it's best if we just don't hang around each other. I've got things going on. You've got things going on. It's just not a good time. And he basically agreed. He was like, you're right. I thought about it all night. You're right. She told him if he ever wanted to cash in on his two, favors, one for when he held her hand with the belly button, and the other when he saved her life, the big one. So she says, I'll uphold that, and he said, okay, bet. So he leaves. She goes inside and she cries. Um, he looked sad too. She described he was sad as well. So I mean, we don't know what all he has going on. I don't know if it's just a family situation. We don't know. But I do feel bad because they clearly really like each other. We fast forward. They don't really see each other. If they do see each other in passing, then just a little nod and they keep it moving. It's been torturous for her. Dex is getting tired of hearing about this shit. She was talking about trying to figure out why he freaks out when she talks about Kim 202. Dex winds up getting Logan's transcripts, and he was the only one who got an A that year. And she's like, everything went downhill for him, and he's the only one with an A. Like, that doesn't make sense, you know? And Dex is kind of like, stop trying to solve the mystery. You need to let it go. So she keeps taking tests. She keeps basically failing. But again, her and Dex are having like the highest scores. And then every week she goes in with Byron, and the information she gets from him, she relays it back to the study group. Bree again is now dating Dan, so she's with him most of the time. The other girls are dating folks, so it's a Friday night. Dex is like, we're going to meet up. I got a plan. So he takes them to this the pizza place, the same place that Jason took her and the crew, and well, the IT department. And sure enough, when she looks up, she is there's a Logan right there with a brunette, and they're all lovey-dovey with each other. And she, of course, got upset. She was jealous, and it's like, so you can't be with me because you got so much stuff going on, but you can still go on dates, right? So she was ready to run, and Dick said, "Don't you do that." He's like, "Play along." So he put his arm around her, and then he like put his nose in her face like they were being all lovey-dovey, and then Dex kissed her, and it was actually a pretty good kiss. And when she looks up, there's this hurt look on Logan's face. But he left with the girl, and she did feel better after that. It's like it was a good thing that she didn't run. But Dex, of course, wasn't worried about that because he has a whole plan that he's trying to get together. So he wants to do a prank, and she's always bringing out this projector, the Dr. Rogers, and he wants to put a flash bomb in it. So then she'll be too afraid to use it, or she'll always jump when it's time to use it. And he's got a plan together, and they need for Ellie to be the lookout person. And she agrees. She comes back to her dorm room and she tries to do some homework. That doesn't last too long. She had to go pee. She kind of got stuck because somebody was fucking and she had to wait for them to stop. She winds up banging on their door because she's like, I need to get through here. Y'all got like 10 seconds. But anyway, she goes to sleep, has this dream about Logan. Next day, she goes into work and the phones are going crazy. And Jason's with his child, baby Mia. She's a little freaked out because it's like, oh my gosh, she's going to meet her sister. Karen had a dentist appointment, so she's running late. He's got a meeting to go to. The babysitter called out, and Lissa, she had a meeting that she couldn't miss. So Ellie tells him, hey, I can take care of her while you do your meeting. And right away, there's this look of, I don't know about that, right? And it kind of hurt her feelings. But at the same time, you're a new person. This is his kid. And it pissed her off, but it is what it is. So she tells him, listen, a friend of my mom's had a daycare. I did it for 2 summers. I'm certified. I'm good with babies. They like me. So he winds up giving her the baby, and sure enough, the baby starts to calm down. He's like, oh my gosh. So he goes and gets all her stuff. Logan comes in. He's going to help man the phones. And she was like, um, so concentrated on the baby, she was really looking at all the different comparisons of how similar they were from their toes to their fingers. It was the same. And Jason eventually leaves. Logan asks her how she been. She said she's all right. And he goes, I saw you at Spiro's. That was the name of the pizza place, by the way. And she said, yeah, I was there with my study group. And he said, that didn't look like studying to me. She said, he was just joking around. But surprisingly, he's a good kisser. And then she says, but I see you were on a date. Did it go well? And he goes, it was average. Then we find out what's really going on. He winds up telling her that he misses her and he needs her for this dad weekend that's coming up. He needs her to act as his girlfriend. And he's like, you were someone my dad would find, respectable and would think I should be with. And so, because she agreed to do these favors, she agrees. She discusses with her girls, and they all think it's a mistake. Her friend Taylor, she comes in from her shift from the kitchen because that's where her work study is. She's happy for a couple reasons. First of all, her crush Jordan was happy to her, made her a grilled cheese sandwich, and she got the recipe for the cobblestone bars. The only problem is the recipe is an industrial size recipe. So she sent it to Dex because remember she wants to make those. I don't think I said this earlier. She wants to make the cobblestone bars for Byron because those are his favorite. But it's one of the kitchen people's recipes, and so she finally got it. So she sends it to him. He'll break it down. Um, Taylor told her the same thing. You need to proceed with caution because it's like he's dangling with you. This is like we could be something, we might not be something. You just need to chill. And they're like, it's kind of crazy that after you kiss the guy at Spiro's, now he needs something from you. Just be careful. So she says, okay. Uh, Dex has got the recipe for her. He's got the plan in motion, and she winds up texting Logan to see if she can use his kitchen to make the cobblestone bars. And he, of course, was like, sure, no problem. And she goes back to her after her meeting with the study group because they're finalizing their plans for the for their prank. Um, she goes back to her dorm room and her mother has left a care package. Her mother's been emailing her, but she blocks all her mother's emails. Her mother's made email addresses and she just, you know, blocks those too. Her mother sent a Halloween package. She wouldn't open it. She let one of her friends open it and she's like, whatever. If it's of value, I want it. But if it's not, you can have it. I don't want it. And so the costume that her mom sent was a witch. So she's wondering, is that her mom trying to say something? You know, who knows? I want to know what the full fallout was. I want to know what the mother said to her. Monday comes, she goes over to Logan's place. Well, he picks her up, takes her over there, and he's just kind of like the whole time she's making the cookies, he's like right there with her. He's telling her how much he misses her. Um, she's trying to change the subject. She's like, "Well, what do I need to know about your dad to impress him?" Basically, and he's like, "You don't need to know anything. Just be yourself." And she still was like, "No." He made the comment that we just have to wait until after this semester, and then we can be together. That made me think, oh, he must have been fucking that teacher. I wonder if he's fucking Dr. Rogers. If he's not, it'll shock the shit out of me. But anyway, she was just like, I'll be your fake girlfriend for now. That's as much as I'm doing, you know. Colin comes in and the Zave guy, I think that's his name, Zave, he was happy to they were happy to see her and happy to see these cobblestone bars as well. They came out good. They're telling her about the Halloween party that they're going to throw, and Logan had invited her yet. Then, of course, he invites her. Um, it's a hella storm brewing outside, and he asked, she was like, still ready to go home. And he was like, you can stay here. The storm's too bad. And she's like, will they be okay with me sleeping on the couch? And he's like, no, you can sleep with me. He's like, I won't try anything, I promise. I just want to lay with you. I want to cuddle. And so he's like, I already have an extra toothbrush. And I'm kind of like, well, you are kind of like a playboy, so that makes sense. But anyway, I digress. Sure enough, it takes her a while to fall asleep, but eventually she does. His dick was hard, but he's like, he told her, I can't help it when I'm around you. That's what happens. But I told you I'm not going to try anything. And he didn't. Next morning, she wakes up. She doesn't have on any makeup. And she has a scar on her face. Don't know where it came from. Hopefully, we'll get that story. Normally, she's got it covered up with makeup, but she's not at home. He wakes up. She gotten a text from Dex saying, today's the day for the mission, and she's ready. She's brushing her teeth. She comes out. He brings her phone, and he says, "Oh, that's a cute picture of Mia, but it's not Mia's picture. It's her." And he's like, "When did you take that?" And she's like, "Why are you like touching my phone?" She like changed the subject, and this again means the fact that he looked at it and saw baby Mia, then she's not crazy. That she looks just like that kid. So it's looking more and more like that's her fucking dad, Jason. He gives her a shirt to put on. She's got to run back. And when she gets in the dorm room, all her girlfriends are like, wait a minute, what's going on? She's like, it's not what you think, but she's got to hurry up and she's got to get to class. So Ellie gets ready. She puts Logan's shirt in her drawer. It smells just like him. She's hoping it's going to permeate and all of her clothes are going to smell like him. She puts on some fake eyelashes. She really does it up. So when she gives Byron these bars, she can really wow him. So she goes to her chem class and, well, no, she goes to Byron. So her job, she's got to open the latch, and it's in the place where Byron's office is. So she gives him the cobblestone bars, but she says, "Oh my gosh, you got to have milk." And he always has milks with his um, desserts. So he goes to get the milk. While he's doing that, she takes a napkin and she lifts the latch. It takes her a little minute, but she's able to get it open, but not like wide open, just enough that it's open so if someone comes up, they can push it up. So then he loves them. Byron says they're better than the ones from the cafeteria. She's all happy. She's done her part. She leaves out. Dex and the other guys, they all meet up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, like 1 or 2 in the morning, and they complete the task. And she's the lookout person. Everything goes smoothly. And then the next day, they go to class, and boom, she turns on or attempts to turn on the projector, and boom, people jump up, they're running, and then they realize it was a prank. And people at first are like, it was a prank. They start laughing because they were scared at first, but once they realized it was a prank, they thought it was the funniest shit. Dr. Rogers yells out to the students like that they can't leave, that, either they give up who did it or whoever did it confesses. No one's leaving until then. She's calling security, going off on them. She calls the IT department, talking to Jason, and she demands that Logan comes to her class. And it was just kind of weird. Like, why is she demanding Logan? Ellie's sitting there going, Logan's never even come to her class. But when he comes in, oh my gosh, the professor's face is one of like ownership and lust. And she can see in that look, she goes, oh my gosh, he fucked her. She's obsessed with him. He fucked her. That's why he got an A. And I feel like that's probably what really happened. I don't know if it was a one time thing and I don't know, but him saying we have to wait until after this semester almost solidified that some kind of way they fucked. Something happened, even if it was just one time or it was a relationship. Ellie starts looking pale. Dex goes, Ellie, what the fuck is wrong? He watches her eye line and sees that Dr. Rogers is giving Logan this look and automatically knows what she's thinking. And he says to her, I don't think it's what you think it is. And she goes, he slept with her to get an A. And she's thinking in her head, she's so tired of older women going after younger men. And I'm like, wait a minute, is that what happened with Austin? So she kept saying what her mom did, she couldn't forgive. Did her mama fuck her man? Ooh, if she did. Awful. We'll see. So anyway, Dex tells her it's not what you think. He's working on something in the background. Give it a couple of weeks. Chill out. Do not confront him about this. Don't ask him any questions about this. He had to get her out of there because the bitch was starting to hyperventilate and panic. And this doesn't look good because this makes it seem like you're fucking guilty and you're a part of the prank. Which she was, even though she was just a lookout person, but still, well, no, she did a little bit more. She opened the window too. But anyway, Dex had to calm her down because I'm like, she finna get them all in trouble. Panicking about bullshit. Whether it's true or not, you don't know all the facts. You gotta calm the fuck down. He told her you have got to act normal. So when she goes to work later on, Logan comes in and she does the whole jovial like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's talking about the prank, trying to get his feedback on it, and he's just like, "Where's Jason?" And she's like, "He's not here, but why are you acting like that?" She's like, "You can tell me. I'm not going to tell anybody." And he basically told her to shut the fuck up. Like, he's not talking about it. And she's like, "You don't get to talk to me like that." And he was just like, I just did. And he left. So the next few days, Logan calls out. Karen called her in to help. And she overheard James talking to Karen about how this year, Halloween falls on a Saturday. And they're going to have the faculty Halloween party that night. And it's like a requirement. He has to come. But the problem is Jason can't find a sitter because the sitter, she's got plans. And so of course Ellie's like, "I can do it. I don't have plans." Jason's like, "But that could change. Like, this is supposed to be like so many epic Halloween parties." And she says, "I'm not really big into parties. I can do it for you." So Ellie texted Colin to let him know she wasn't coming to the party. She thought maybe Logan would have texted her after she did that, but he didn't. The girls went out. She stayed in. Bree normally leaves her keys and won't, like, she'll like have her keys on her but just doesn't, but she don't want to take them out. So when there's a knock on the door, she thought it was Bree and she just opened it, but it was fucking Austin. So girls went by and they were like, "Oh my god, he's like so hot." And so she of course is like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "You're not answering my calls. I need to talk to you." So he apparently got invited to a party here or something, and so she's like, "Just come in." So we get the whole filthy story, honey. So this is what happened. So she was back in college at home, and she had ran out of clean clothes, and so she would do her laundry at her mom and Doug's house. So Doug had been out of town, and he was just coming back sooner to surprise his wife Melissa. So when Elle pulled into the driveway, Doug pulled in right behind her, and he's like, "What you doing here?" And she's like, "Oh, I just came to do some laundry. I ran out of clean clothes." Doug says he came home, he wanted to surprise Melissa. Well, they open the door, and her mom and Austin are fucking on the couch. Doug goes and beats the shit out of Austin. The mom is screaming for him to stop. Ellie tries to stop it, and by her doing that, Doug accidentally punched her in the fucked her face up, and that's where her scar comes from. It's gonna be permanent too, and knocked her down and damn near knocked her out. So when the ambulance came, they took Austin and Ellie. And then we come back to the present, and he, of course, is like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." He was like, you know, what did she say? She told him she's gone after every boyfriend I've had. They all said no. Why couldn't you? And he said that, "I think your mom is just jealous of you because you've you're not dependent on people. You're not dependent on men and stuff like that. And your mother is. It's kind of like you got yourself together and she doesn't. And I think she envies you. I think that's what it is." And she's just kind of like, even if that is the case, that's sad, and that's no excuse to do that to your fucking kid. That's fucked up. You know what I mean? And so Austin told her what happened was she called him over for dinner and she said that Ellie was going to be there. But then when he got there, she wasn't. They kept drinking, and then one thing led to another. So apparently see, Ellie's a virgin, so she's not fucking. So I kind of feel like for him, he was ready to fuck. She was there. Now the Austin guy says that he really did love Elle. He's like, I really do love you, Elle. I really did. But that's too fucking crazy for you to say you love me, but you fucked my mama. That's just too weird. She does wind up telling him that she forgives him. I think it also helped that she stuck on Logan. Let's just be honest. I think that helps. Um, I'm just saying. So anyway, when this happened, when she decided to leave and go to this other school, she came back to her mother's house one time, and that's when she found the letter and found it, finding out who Jason Front was. And that's when it was like, okay, I'm gonna leave. I'm going to this other school, and I'm never gonna talk to her again. Damn, that's fucked up. So anyway, when her friends um come back, and they're getting, well, the next day they're getting ready for the whole Halloween. She tells them what happened. That's crazy, they thought. Um, she's getting ready. She's going to go babysit. She's one of the characters from the Hunger Games. It's nothing scary because she's not trying to scare the baby. JC comes and picks her up. He's Sherlock Holmes. They go to his home, beautiful home. Lissa is very loving, really sweet, and she's so loving with the baby. She hands out candy until about 9:30. That's when the baby's is the bedtime. So the baby's fighting sleep like kids normally do. There's a teddy bear. I'm thinking that teddy bear is a nanny cam. If it's not, again, I'm gonna be shocked. So while she's rocking the baby to sleep, she chooses to confess that she's her sister and that she's not going to tell their father because she doesn't want to ruin this perfect life that she has. Um, she has also skipped chem class twice. And, or was it the lab? It might have been the lab. And Dex was like signing her in. But this last time he told her, you have got to come in. Like, that's just, you got to do it. So she goes in and she says, okay, fine, she'll go in. But she winds up going and seeing Jason because I think it was her, it might have been her shift. It was the next day was her shift. And Karen's like, Jason wants to talk to you. Karen looks real frazzled. Jason comes to the door. He's like, I need to speak to you now. So she comes in the office and he tells her that he's, heard and saw what she said on the nanny cam and that they'll get her some help because she's delusional, thinking that Mia's her sister. And she goes, you have a nanny cam? You spied on me? She was like, you could have told me it was there. He was like, I figured you would know that. Most people have a nanny cam. So then she tells him who her mother is. And he has this face of what? And he says, we only, messed around one time. And she says, well, one time is all it takes. And she throws out the DNA kit on the desk and was like, I'd figured we'd have to do it this way anyway. Might as well just get it over. He's like, where did you get that from? She's like, you can get it anywhere. Walgreens, Walmart, anywhere. She's like, you can look at the expiration date if you want. It's a fresh one. She told him, either you take the test now or we do it the hard way and you can pay for my tuition and then they'll make you take one. And she's like, I don't want anyone to know about this. I'm not trying to come and ruin your life. That's not what I wanted to do. He asked her how her mom was. She says, I don't know. I don't talk to her. And if you listen to the nanny cam, you know why. He said, well, we couldn't hear everything. Some stuff you said, it sounded like you whispered. She said she slept with my boyfriend and she's on her third husband. And he goes, I'm sorry. And he's like, what do we do now? She said, we walked this to the post office. They did their swabs and everything together in the office. And we tell no one about this. And she told him, I would appreciate if you don't ever do that to me do this to me again, come out in the job area and speak to me that way. She's like, I need this job because I'm on scholarship. She's like, and so don't ever do that to me again. He said, I'm sorry, that wasn't professional. I apologize. So they walked it back, walked it to the post office, come back. Karen's trying to figure out what the hell going on. She's not saying anything. Jason left, said he had an emergency meeting, and that was the rest of that day. So she also had told him, I forgot to mention, not to reach out to her mom. She said, because if you do, she's going to come here and she's going to ruin all of our lives, make everything a living hell. So he agreed not to do that. So the rest of the week, Jason and Logan apparently are working on some secret project. She didn't see either of them, and she just kind of felt like, wow, now they're both avoiding me. Friday finally comes. Dex had told her, you got to bring your ass, non-negotiable. She comes to class. He gives her a cup of coffee. She's looking. She's feeling like, I just can't do this. I cannot be in this class. I'm already going to fail it. She's like, I'd rather just take the F. But if you retake it, this is the only teacher that does the class. So it doesn't really make any sense to do that shit. You know what I mean? So Dex says, just chill and wait for the show. So while this bitch, and yes, I called her bitch, Dr. Rogers is standing up, and two police officers come in, and they say, we need to speak with you. And she's being all smug, and she says, if you need to talk to me, you talk to me during my office hours. They said, fine, no problem, you're under arrest. They cut the mic, so you can't really hear everything else. She tried to make a run for it, they caught her ass. So everyone's stunned, but everyone's happy because the bitch is getting justice. But we don't know exactly what she's done. You know, she's an awful bitch. That's not a reason to go to jail, right? So Dex takes Ellie outside and he explains to her what happened. So when Dex went in and did the whole prank, he saw some extra things. He saw that this woman had been making the GHB drug, the date rape drug. And he also saw pictures on the computer that were of naked male students. So basically, what she was doing, she would some kind of way get that date rape drug to them and sexually assault them and then take pictures of them. And so it appears as if Logan, now he didn't see a picture of Logan, but he does state it appears as if this could have happened to Logan. So this bitch was out here making GHB, assaulting students, and then giving students a hard time. What a sick, twisted bitch. Anyway, it was a good thing she listened to Dex, because now she never went to him and said, you were fucking her, da 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 da. So I'm glad she didn't do that shit, because that's not what happened. He was assaulted. And no wonder he shuts down and didn't want to talk about, oh, poor thing. Poor thing. Oh. Anyway, Dex told her, reach out to him first, but don't ask him anything about that. If he wants to talk to you about it, he will in his own time. So she did message him, kind of finding out, are we still doing the dad's weekend thing? Am I still being your fake girlfriend? He said yes. He told her how sorry he was, you know, X, Y, and Z. So she decides, okay, she's got to make sure she looks, you know, top tier. So she gets her, you know, a mani-pedi, and she looks divine. She's got this great dress on, these great heels. She looks great. And so when she sees Logan, she runs up to him, gives him a hug, gives him a kiss. His dad's name is Harlan. They drive to the restaurant. The dad blatantly says to her, so I hear you don't have a father. She realizes this is the dad's game. Get a weakness, throw it at you, see how you react. So she says, I had 3 stepfathers. You know, you deal with the hand you're dealt, you know. She didn't freak out. So they get to the restaurant. The dad is going on and on about Caleb, from appetizers, salads, into the entree. And Caleb, he hasn't asked Logan about himself at all. He's just talking about Caleb. And so Ellie goes, "Do you know your son saved my life?" And he looks at Logan. He says, "Is that true?" And she says, "Yes, it's true." And she told him how it happened. And the first thing the father said was, "I told you to stop cliff diving. I told you it was too dangerous in your condition." And when he did that, she got so pissed off. She slammed her fist on the table. And she said, "That's what you say when I tell you your son saved my life? May not be a big deal to you, but to me, he saved my life. I'm here because of that." And she says, "Did you know your son was a part of an investigation that stopped a professor, a predator, from creating GHB, a date rape drug, and using it on students? He put a stop to that. Do you know that?" And he was like, "Is that true?" And Logan said, "Yeah." Harlan got up, hugged him, and cried. He had tears in his eyes. He said, "I'm so sorry, son. I didn't believe you." He's like, "I don't tell you enough, but I do love you." And he's like, "Your mom will be glad to know." He's like, "Do you want me to tell her? Do you want to tell her?" And he says, "You can tell her." And Logan is sitting there looking shocked. And the dad finally says, "You picked a good one this time." So the dad takes them back to Logan's place, gives him a hug, gives Ellie a hug. Um, and then he was like, "How did you know about the investigation?" She said, "Someone else told me." He pressed her a little bit, but then he winds up opening up and telling what happened. So basically, she would do the harmless flirting, Dr. Rogers, and he just kind of figured she's just flirting, quid pro quo. I scratch her back, you scratch mine. I let her flirt with me. Maybe she'll give me some extra points. That's it. Well, she invited him to her house, asked him to come to her house because her modem, something was wrong with it. And so he figured, I'll go help her. He goes, she gives him a beer, and when he goes to touch her modem, all of a sudden, he had like 2 sips of beer. All of a sudden, everything doesn't feel right. And he blanks out. He blacks out. He wakes up the next morning in his bed. So his friends, Caleb and was it Rave, Vave, something like that, they tell him, "Oh, she told us that you had missed prescription drugs and your prescriptions because he was taking painkillers for his injury, and and beer. You mixed the alcohol together. That's why you were so messed up." Well, he starts having different flashbacks, and it's what happened. So he would see a girl he liked, and then all of a sudden it would morph into Dr. Rogers, her on top of him, fucking him. So when he realized what she did, he confronted her, but she was basically like, "If you tell anybody, I'll say you raped me." So he felt stuck. He went and told his dad. His dad didn't believe him, as clearly. And the dad just thought he had been fucking around with the teacher, which is what I thought, so I do feel bad. Because he wasn't. He was assaulted. And so he wound up threatening her with the restraining order, and that made her back off of him and stop. Because she kept begging to fuck him again, and she kept trying to get him to fuck her. So when he told Jason everything that happened, again, just like he said, Jason was the one that got him back on track, helped him, and that was when he was able to stop being scheduled to go anywhere near her with any IT calls. So after that, she winds up saying to him that she loved him. She's like, "I love you, Logan." Colin comes in, and he wanted to hang out with him because his dad abandoned him to go back to the hotel. But Logan's like, "Nah, we going in the room." So they're kissing, they're taking each other's clothes off. And he was like, "I just want to touch you. I don't want to do anything else." So he winds up fingering her, sucking on her titties, and he winds up jacking off on her stomach. He goes and cleans up. She gets a text message from Jason saying the results are in. "I'm the one. Don't say anything to anyone. We need to talk." But she wanted to have this one moment of perfection with Logan. And so, of course, she doesn't say anything about it. But what she does say to him is, after he told her, he said, he's like, I really do love you, Elle. And when he said that to her, she said, don't let anything change that. Promise me. And he's like, nothing could change that. What could change that? She said, just promise me. And he says, I promise. And that's how it ends. So the next book in the series is called Reckless Secrets. Okay, I really like this. This is spicy. I love a good secret. I love a good reveal. It's so good. There's two more books in this series, so I'm excited. I am still stuck on that mom. What a piece of work that you want your child's, like, it's bad, and like, even if she had done this one time, it's wrong, it's fucked up. But the fact that she constantly goes after her daughter's boyfriends to see if she can take them is a problem. So I see why she was like, I just want to cut this bitch off. I don't want anything to do with her. She is clearly an awful person. But I really like this. I thought this was a really good read. What did you guys think? Let me know. Drop down in the comment section and let me know. Let me know what your favorite part was. Um, if you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available. And the links are going to be available down below in the description section. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support. And thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.